All right, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area, the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Morristown Alumni Chapter, the NAACP of Morris County and New Jersey Hills Media Group, and Morris Newsbee, I am pleased to welcome you to our Morristown Ward 4 Council debate. My name is Justine Mora. I'm a student at Drew University and a member of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization, and therefore we never support or oppose political parties or candidates. Elections and voting are our core concerns, and empowering voters and defending democracy is our mission. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. Membership in the League is open to all gender identities. We welcome volunteers, whether or not you are a member. With 100 years of experience, the League is one of America's oldest and most trusted civic nonprofit organizations. I now will welcome Kimberly Monroe to say a few words as president of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Morris Alumni Chapter.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Kimberly Monroe, the president of the Morristown Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is an organization of college-educated women committed to the constructive development of its members and to public service with a primary focus on the Black community. We provide an extensive array of public service initiatives through our 5-point programmatic thrust, which is economic development, educational development, physical and mental health, international awareness and involvement, and political awareness and involvement. Delta Sigma Theta was founded at Howard University and has been committed to service through social action since our founding in 1913. Our 22 founders participated in the suffrage march of 1913, just 2 months after establishing the sorority, and our members have been at the forefront of social and political struggles ever since. As part of our political awareness and involvement thrust, the Morristown Alumni Chapter is engaged in voter registration, education, and mobilization in Morris, Sussex, Warren, and Huntington counties. We would like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us to co-sponsor the Morristown Ward 4 Candidate Forum, along with the New Jersey Hills Media Group, and we look forward to a healthy discussion tonight with our candidates.
Thank you so much, Ms. Monroe. And I would also like to welcome Anthony Gabbianelli to say a few words about the Morris Newsbee.
Hi all, I'm Anthony Gabbianelli of I'm the editor of the Morris Newsbee in Hanover Eagle. We've been covering the Morristown, Morris Township, Morris Plains, and Hanover Township and East Hanover townships for quite a long time. Just genuinely excited to be here in support of the debates and everything, and just best of luck to all of the candidates involved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gabbianelli. All right, here are 3 ways to remember to make your vote count. First, voting by mail ballot. Second, early in person using a voting machine from October 28th to November 5th. And third, in person on Tuesday, November 7th. We encourage everyone to go to vote411.org, a one-stop site for information on all aspects of voting in New Jersey, including statements on the issues from your candidates. And also, please visit our website to learn about Morristown Area League. This forum is being live streamed on the Morristown Area League of Women Voters YouTube channel and will be available there for viewing afterward. We encourage the sharing of the League's recording of this event in its entirety, but do not allow editing or make public any excerpts from the recording. The League name, logo, event recording, or any material from the event cannot be used in any way that could lead a viewer or reader to infer League support or of opposition to any candidacy. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Marlene Sincaglia. Marlene is a League trained moderator who is not from this voting district. She will introduce the candidates and outline the format for this evening. Oh, Marlene, remember to unmute yourself.
Okay. Well, tonight we have the Ward 4 Morristown Council Representative Candidates Forum. We have two candidates. We have Christopher J. Russo and Bruce Marangolo. The program is going to be divided into three parts. The first part deals with the opening statement. Each candidate will have 1 minute to make an opening statement. Now you will see our timekeeper show a sign, a yellow sign saying 30 seconds when 30 seconds are left for the answer. And then at the end of the 1 minute, a red sign, stop. That doesn't mean stop right there in the middle of a word, just finish your thought, but do not go on and on and on. So we have our opening statements first. And going in alphabetical order, 1 minute, we have Bruce Marangolo.
Very good. Thank you, Marlene. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight to listening to us and those who are listening in the future. My name is Bruce Marangolo, and I'm a candidate here for Morristown Council in the 4th Ward. And my goal is to deliver a new voice to the town council, one that brings greater transparency to the town council, encourages a greater fiscal discipline to protect your tax dollars and increase attention on the parks and roads, and focus on quality of life issues such as traffic and pedestrian safety. Previously to living in Morristown, I lived down the road a bit in Long Hill Township, where I served over 15 years as a mayor, councilman, and school board member. So I'm hoping to bring that experience and dedication to the council here in Morristown. And I will yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Russo. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you, Marlene. My name is Chris Russo, and I'm running on the Democrat ticket for Morristown Ward 4 Town Council. First, I'd like to say a big thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. It's very important for the residents of Ward 4 to be able to hear the platforms of their candidates before casting their ballot. So thank you for that. A little bit about me. I've been living in the Central Business District, which is Ward 4, for 10 years at the 40 Park condos, but I've been in the area for 40 years. I'm in pharmaceutical sales, and I'm the co-owner and co-founder of a Morristown-based company called Superhero Events. We put on large road races since 2009, and we have worked with many local charities and local organizations, and we've also donated to those local charities and local organizations, and we're very proud to be part of this community. So back in June, I got past the primary successfully, and in my opinion, I believe that happened because I knocked on every door in this ward 3 to 4 times, and I had one simple goal in mind: to do very little speaking and a lot of listening. And with that, I was able to get a lot of the concerns and needs of the residents, and I've been doing it now all the way through the general election. Ward 4 is a very large ward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. The second portion of this program is dealing with the questions. Questions were solicited by the public, and they were screened to avoid duplication, to avoid abusive language, and also to make sure that the question had to do with the office being sought. The candidates will have 1 minute to respond, and the first candidate to respond will also have the ability for a 30-second rebuttal at the end if they so desire. So the first question, and Mr. Russo, you're going to be answering this first, is, as the Ward 4 representative to Morristown Council, how will you support the residents directly affected by the Morristown Hospital expansion plans?
Thank you for that question, Marlene. So it's important to know. So obviously, like I mentioned earlier in my opening speech, Ward 4 is a very diverse community. So we're speaking, I think, residents of Parsons Village and Convent Mews. So there was a vision meeting with the hospital and the town. One meeting, they spoke about some vision plans, but nothing was decided by the town yet. That being said, to cut to the point, For anything to happen, it would have to be in front of public hearings, in front of boards. I'm currently a member of the planning board, in front of the Board of Adjustments. The public will always be made aware of what's happening, and nothing, I promise you, if I'm elected, will ever be done with outside the purview of the public. The public will always have a say in what's happening, and I'll represent the public specifically in that case. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Maringolo.
Thanks for that question. The hospital is a very important part of the Morristown area. It brings a lot of jobs to the area. It brings healthcare services, which are top rated in the state. So it's important that we support the hospital. But my concern is the lack of transparency that has occurred in what's going on with that hospital. And as the council representative, I'll do everything in my power to make sure that that information is shared on a regular basis. And the people are brought in that are necessary to understand and relate to the hospital's expansion plans, and the neighbors are all informed. The lack of transparency so far and the way the information is dribbled out is really shameful. And to exclude council representatives who are actively engaged in those communities, it's disappointing. It really is disappointing. So my goal is to really bring some transparency to government and be a voice where there is none now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Question number 2. And Mr. Maringolo, you're going first for this question. And the audience will, and the candidates will note that the hospital and expansion is big on everybody's mind because there's several questions dealing with that. So question number 2, a recent preliminary proposal by Atlantic Health envisions an 11-story building in an area presently zoned at a 5-story maximum. Would you be in favor of changing the zoning to allow a building of this height? Mr. Maringolo.
I don't think so. I think that 11 stories would be outside the character of the current environment and the neighborhood that's around it. So I think 11 stories would be a bit much. Since I'm not privy to the plan, I don't know about the other 5 or 6 story buildings they're talking about, the parking garage, everything that was in that those published articles. But 11 stories seems way too tall for that area. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Russo.
Thank you for that question. So what's going on over there and the vision proposal? There was actually a great comment that someone said, when you can look up and see the blue skies. Morristown is a beautiful gym. We have a lot of urban stuff going on. The hospital is fantastic, but I'd have to see the plans. But I understand why neighbors at Convent Muse, my neighbors at Parsons Village, are concerned about this. So I don't know if an 11-story building will fit into the plan there, based on the neighbors and based on what the town is about. So I would really have to see these plans. And again, I'm not privy to anything at this moment. I'm not an elected official, but I can truly understand why the residents are concerned by hearing that rumor. So yes, I don't know if that would fit into the plans. Thank you.
Okay. Question number 3. What is your position on granting blanket changes to the zoning height restrictions in the area of the proposed Atlantic Health development? And Mr. Russo, you go first.
So I don't think anything, again, from what I'm privy to, and I know everything that the public knows at this point, nothing more, nothing should be done in a blanket manner. Again, everything will be done in the purview of the public, going through a zoning board, going through a planning board, and they can certainly ask for variances. It doesn't mean the town's going to give it to them or give them some blanket, carte blanche and do whatever you want. There is a policy, there's different procedures that need to be done, and the public will be made aware of it. And if it doesn't fit what the town is looking for, it just won't happen. The hospital can come in and say, we want to do this, we want to build a 50-story building. They can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, the town getting feedback from the residents and going through the proper procedure will make that decision what can and can't happen. So no, I'm not in favor of just blanket procedures and carte blanche to any organization.
Mr. Maringolo.
So spot zoning is illegal in New Jersey, and doing something like that sounds an awful lot like spot zoning. So that would not be permitted in any way, shape, or form. And if it were to come to pass, I think that the residents would certainly have the ability to challenge something like that, simply because it's just not done. It shouldn't be done. I mean, with some of the areas in need of redevelopment type designations, there is the mechanism to do something like that, but there's no discussion of that here. So you're really talking about spot zoning, and that's illegal in New Jersey. So I wouldn't be in favor of any kind of blanket variance that you mentioned. It just doesn't seem appropriate. Thank you.
Okay. Not to put you on the spot, but a yes, no to the follow-up. Will you state publicly at this time that if elected, you will not vote for the blanket rezoning to accommodate the expansion of Morristown Medical Center? And Mr. Russo, yes or no?
Yes, as in I will not vote for it, just a blanket expansion, or no, I will not vote for it.
You will not vote? Yes, you will not vote.
Yes, I will.
In favor.
Yeah, so to repeat you, yes, I will not vote for a blanket expansion. We'd have to see every detail. Like I mentioned, would have to be in the purview of the public. So yes, I will not vote just for a blind blanket expansion. No, yes, I will not.
Mr. Maringolo.
So to be clear, I'm not in favor of the blanket, the spot zoning, or anything we're talking about here. But to be more accurate, it wouldn't be in front of the town council. It would be in front of the zoning board for the variance. So the council really doesn't get that vote. The zoning board does. And council members don't sit on the zoning board. So if there are going to be objectors, they need to be at those zoning meetings.
Thank you. The next question. Since the town had to go to court to force Morristown Hospital to pay taxes, and since payment of taxes under the settlement agreement is going to end in 2025, do you see any reason to believe that allowing the hospital to undertake a massive expansion is going to result in any meaningful addition to the town's tax revenues? If not, what benefit does Morristown get from an expansion of the medical center? And Mr. Maringolo.
Okay, so it's a tax question, right?
Yes.
What we're trying to find out is if we go through the development, do we get more taxes versus what's currently generated in taxes? Right?
Yes.
It's hard to answer that question without knowing what we're talking about. A conversional development obviously raises the improved value of the property. In theory, we are going to get more taxes, but it's hard to answer that question. I think that in general, that any commercial development should be looked at very carefully, because the hospital is such an important employer and the services are dependent upon here in town. But most importantly is going to be the communication about the project to the residents and the people that are most impacted. And that's what's severely lacking right now.
Mr. Russo.
Yes, so when it comes to communication about the project, that's the first and foremost most important thing. So previously, I know it was a little bit of a struggle, but we were able to get those tax dollars from the hospital. So anything the hospital were to do, again, in the purview of the public, as a good neighbor and as an asset to the community, they are an asset to the community, they should be paying their fair share of taxes to the community. But again, this would all be done in the purview of the public. And again, none of this may even happen in one vision meeting, and this could not happen at all, but everything will be done in the purview of the public. But yes, to answer the short question, anything they do, they should be a good neighbor and be paying taxes to Morristown.
Okay. Next question. And Mr. Maringolo, you're going first on this question as well. It asks, how will you address traffic exiting from Route 287 northbound and utilizing South Street to get to the hospital due to the large expansion?
Yeah, 287 northbound, especially at 5 o'clock, is a mess. 287 southbound at 8 o'clock is a mess. So this is not going to improve things. with a major expansion like that. There's no doubt that any type of development in that area needs to have quite a bit of study around traffic, noise, and everything else, because it's tough as it is. So anything new, it can't be done. It can't be done without careful consideration. But again, you got to bring the public into it and let them know what's going on, because the residents of Convent Muse and Parsons Village, they've got to get in and out of their homes. They've got to be able to access the roads over there, and it's difficult. It's too difficult as it is. So I don't see anything being done without a study.
Thank you. Mr. Russo.
So any kind of project coming into town, large or small, there should always be a traffic study done. And I'll take that one step further. Obviously, even in the last 3.5 years since COVID, we've had pilots coming in, we've had construction, a lot of great businesses coming into town. But now that COVID, we're getting back to a sense of normalcy here. There's a lot of traffic on the road. I think we should work with the NJDOT, not only specifically to what's going on when you come off 287 North on the South Street, but all through Morristown. With these great businesses coming in, we should work with the NJDOT should we adjust the traffic signals? Should we adjust the traffic patterns to make it more traffic friendly? Another thing about Morristown, which has always been tough, is that it's a cut-through town. So if you look at Morristown on a Saturday, and I know it's obviously not a work day, it's a little quiet. During the week, there's always those issues of people cutting from out west through Morristown to get to 287, to get to Route 24. So I think now, especially with COVID, a lot of people going back to the office, we should do a traffic study all through town. And the revenue we receive from these pilot programs, let some of that go to how we can make it more efficient for people coming through Morristown.
If I could rebut here for a second.
30 seconds, yes.
All right. I wonder if in front of the M station, anybody actually did a traffic study around that circle, because try getting out of that, try getting onto Morris Avenue right now when that traffic circle is going full tilt. I mean, cars are coming down that road and you cannot make a right or a left onto Morris Avenue next to the diner. So I'd like to see that traffic study. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next question happens to deal with traffic. And Mr. Russo, you're going first. And the question asks, how do you plan to deal with the increasing traffic in town? Driving too fast, too aggressively, no observation of any speed limit, not stopping at pedestrian signs, doing races around the green to get in front of you, and not honoring any right of way, to name a few.
So no, those are all great points, and I'll start with the pedestrian aspect. I have many friends who constantly bring up to me that they walk into the crosswalk on different crosswalks in town, and they almost get hit by a car. So I think we have to enforce. Like, if we see someone going through when there's pedestrians waiting, going through a crosswalk, you have to hit them with the maximum fine there for doing that. Obviously, so it could mean the difference between life and death. So that needs to be enforced. Also on the green, we do have a good a police presence on the green, but again, if someone's cutting somebody in the lane or doing something when a pedestrian's crossing the street, there should be heavy fines with that, and a lot of ticketing going on. So, and again, back to the other point about traffic in general, as I stated earlier, work with the NJDOT on revenue we received already from these pilot programs, put it into traffic studies to see how we can make traffic more efficient in general as a whole. Thank you.
Mr. Maringolo.
So there are lots of techniques for traffic calming. One of the things that you can do is actually narrow the lanes, because it's proven that if the lanes get smaller, people go slower. But one of the things that I'd like to see is more mechanical systems. I'd like to see the crosswalks illuminated with safety lighting, so that when a pedestrian has to cross the street, the lights blink in the road. And we did that down in Long Hill in front of Gillette School. It turned out to be a terrific mechanism during school hours, so that moms and kids can cross the road very easily. So I'd like to see more mechanical systems like that for pedestrian safety, as well as additional enforcement around town to try to slow traffic down. one of the most dangerous areas is here in the fourth ward, McCullough and James, and it's terrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next question. And Mr. Russo, you're going first for this question as well. It asks, please state your position on the referendum question to limit the use of gas-powered leaf blowers.
So I'm going to answer that in a two-part question, actually. So from a personal standpoint, as I mentioned in my opener, I live in 40 Park condos, so I don't have any grass on my property or anywhere near me, so I don't hear it. However, I talked to plenty of residents. A lot of people work in a hybrid situation. They're working from home at 2 o'clock and they hear leaf blowers in the background. And I get it. That can be annoying when you're on a Zoom call or doing a debate, whatever the case may be. That being said, obviously the council decided to put it to a referendum and the voters will vote. And that's the best part about democracy. You're going to put it out to all the people and let them decide if it's right for the town or not. So that's a decision they made. And I support the decision to put it out to referendum. But I see the concerns of the people where they're coming from on the issue. But again, personally, I can't speak to it just because of where I'm located.
Mr. Maringolo.
I think it's a great idea, and I think that the economy will go there eventually. If you look at all the tools being sold at Home Depot and Lowe's, more and more are battery operated. I personally own a battery operated lawnmower, a battery operated chainsaw, a battery operated blower, no gas tools. So I'm already there. But I can understand the argument for the professional landscapers because I have a lot of batteries and they cost a lot of money and they don't last. I think as technology improves and battery technology improves, we will certainly be in a position where we will be all electric, all battery, and no more gas blowers. So I think just the economics of it and the way the industry is going, I think it'll happen organically. I don't necessarily think that we have to force the issue. Up in Montclair where they did, they're currently being sued. So that's a really good test case for us to watch to see what happens up in Montclair, whether that law stays on the books or whether it gets repealed because of the lawsuit. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Mr. Maringolo, you're going first. Would you be in favor of appointing Morristown Housing Authority commissioners who wanted to shut down the Morristown Community Development Corporation, a nonprofit created last year by the Housing Authority?
So am I in favor, just if I could repeat the question, am I in favor of appointing commissioners who would shut down the housing?
Right.
Okay. So first, let me tell you that I am a vice chair of the Morris County Housing Authority. So I have a little experience in housing authorities. And the answer is yes. There's no reason to have a separate entity like that that has purchasing power. I'm the finance chair for the Morris County Housing Authority. I oversee the budget. We look at the bills all the time. There's no reason for it. So whatever's going on there, I would absolutely have them removed, and I would shut down that off-balance sheet corporation that they have going over there. I'll yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Russo.
Thank you. So I would have to really look at all of the evidence in front of me before I made a decision on that. I have heard mixed things, but for me to give you a fair answer at this moment would be unfair to the public. I really have to look at everything that's going on before I can make an answer about whether you'd shut that down or leave it be, or somehow transform it or kind of reinvent it in a way. So that's something that I'd certainly be happy to look into. I wouldn't say I'm for it or opposed to it. I would have to look into all the evidence before I can make an educated decision on that. Thank you.
Okay, next question, Mr. Russo. There's been very substantial development in Morristown during the last decade. Do you think there has now been enough and that it should be slowed down?
So great question. And as I've been walking the ward, that's a concern of many of the residents. So as I mentioned earlier, Ward 4 is broken up. It's a very diverse population, a very diverse topography, if you will. Where I live, a lot going on, a lot of development. But to mention, I was actually one of 5 people endorsed by the League of Conservation Voters to protect open space in an equitable way. So part of Ward 4, you have Foots Pond. Preserve that keep, obviously a beautiful place to walk through. It's gorgeous, actually. I didn't realize how big it was until you really go down there and get in there. And you have Burnham Park on the west side of Ward 4. So there's a lot of open space. It's important that we protect that. However, with some of these pilot programs, they're fantastic. They're coming in, they're generating revenue for the town. Plus, a lot of them have been built on dilapidated and contaminated areas that weren't really earning any revenue previously. And they're bringing people into the town. It's good for small business. So I think there's a balance there. Development is a good thing in the right areas of Morristown. And Ward 4 encompasses all those different areas, from the very quiet, serene areas to a bustling central business district slash downtown, which is where I am. So I think you have to have a balance that every resident can appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Maringolo.
So development is an ongoing thing, but it's got to be the most appropriate development for the area. What we're seeing now is a lot of apartments. What we're not seeing is any kind of retail or any other type of commercial that brings in businesses. So I'm concerned about the massive apartment buildings that are going up, and not enough of the small business type development so that people can invest in shops that benefit the community. So yeah, I'm concerned about the development, and I would certainly have a voice about what's going on and whether it should continue as such. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Question number 10, the last question. Mr. Maringolo, you go first. And the question asks, what is your vision of the west side of the green, formerly the Century 21 side? Ever thought about putting in a retirement home or assisted living?
I haven't specifically thought about that use, but clearly a mixed use would benefit the community. Again, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, you need to have some opportunity for businesses to thrive, not just the apartments. The people need places to congregate. So if you look at development, it's got to be a little of everything. It's got to be like ragu. It's got to all be in there. So I would like to see something that is well diversified and that can meet not only the small business but also the mature adult and the young actives and benefit everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Russo.
So I'm also a fan of mixed use for that side of Park Place. I can tell you this much: the last thing anybody wants to see is nothing there. And right now, there's not much going on. There's some stuff behind the scenes that's happening to try to get that to a better place. But yes, mixed use, that is something that's nice to look at. Get people in town, whether it's retail, some residential, but definitely mixed use. But all of that is better than what's going on there now. But the town is working toward making that side of the green a much better place to walk through. So yes, I'm definitely for mixed use. And like I said, anything is better than what's going on there at the moment. Thank you.
If I could add on to 1 second or 30 seconds.
Sure, 30 seconds, yes.
I would also like to see the old lumber yard turned into a park. And I would also like to see the skateboarders get something down on Cole Street. I think that there's quite a few things that we can do in those areas, and I don't understand why the council hasn't worked up on that yet. There's tremendous opportunities for more recreation areas, and we need to leverage on those and build on those. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we reach the third portion of tonight's program, which is the closing statements. Each candidate has 2 minutes in which to make a closing statement, and we're going in reverse alphabetical order. So, Mr. Russo, you get to go first. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. So the amount of time I spent in town, being a member of the planning board, working with the jurisdiction, the police force, the town council, even with superhero events at a lesser extent, going through the primary, since April, I've been walking this ward essentially every day, knocking on doors and speaking to the residents. And as I mentioned, in Morristown, there's a lot going on. The resident on the west side of Ward 4 near Burnham is going to have a far different concern than the resident on my side of Ward 4. and who's going to have a much different concern than the resident down near Foots Pond, who's going to have a much different concern than the resident in Parsons Village and Convent Muse. So based on the feedback I've gotten from residents, I'm confident that I can address the issues that need to be addressed for everyone. Because at the end of the day, who's ever elected, and obviously I hope it's me, they need to understand what's important to every resident. Bring that, because at the end of the day, it's a very simple job. You're going to be representing them at every single council meeting. And a couple things I will do, every resident has received my personal cell phone and personal email, and I encourage them to call them. This is an email and cell phone I've had for 20 years. I encourage them to reach out to me with anything, but I also promise, if elected, to be proactive. Send out a newsletter, whether it's bi-weekly, whether it's monthly, maybe more often if something important is going on, to be completely transparent with the residents. I will always be accessible, and I will always be transparent with everyone. If you call me, if I miss your call, I'll call you back that day. You have my word. Everything will always be done in the purview of the public, whether the hospital wants to do something, whether a pothole's getting fixed in the street, whether whether JCP&L is doing work. It's whoever your council person is, it's their job to make sure the public is aware of everything 100% of the time. And you have my word on this recording that I will get that done every single time. So that being said, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this. It was a great opportunity to really, share our platform with all the residents. And I encourage any resident listening now, if you have my info, please reach out to me. And if you don't have it, I'll be at your house soon enough, and I'll make sure you get it. So thank you very much. Thank you, Marlene. And I yield my time.
Thank you. Mr. Maringolo.
Thank you to the league for doing this. Chris, for participating. I want to bring my experience to Morristown. I want to help bring some transparency. I want to improve some public safety. I want to bring some fiscal discipline to Morristown. Some things that are sorely lacking that I think need to be addressed. For far too long, I think that there's been sort of this status quo with the government here, and I think that it needs to be shooken up a little bit. And I encourage you to support me in this election season, and I ask for your vote. I live in the Wood Park section of town. My wife and I, we walk around all the time with our dog. Stop me on the street, tell me what's on your mind, and I will listen. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. We are very grateful to the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Morristown Alumni Chapter and the New Jersey Hills News Media Group, Morris News B, for their nonpartisan participation and support, and look forward to continuing our work together. We also thank the candidates for showing up to this debate. We thank our timer, Diane Holland, and volunteers who made this evening possible. Thank you to the audience for attending and being active participants in the democratic process. Just to reiterate, this program was live streamed and recorded and will be available for viewing on the Morristown Area League of Women Voters YouTube channel. Please wait a day or two to let us get it up there. Also remember that we encourage the showing of this program and the recording, but it must be shown in its entirety. There is no editing or taking excerpts from this recording. Remember, your vote counts, and you can vote in 3 ways. You have already received, if you've already applied for your mail-in ballot, please complete it. You can drop it off in a drop box in your town or mail it in. Early voting starts October 28th to November 5th. There are 8 sites in Morris County, Monday through Friday. It's 10 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 6, and you're voting on the actual voting machines. And of course, in person on the regular election day, which is Tuesday, November 7th. Polls open at 6 a.m., close at 8 p.m., and then there you go to your regular polling station. So again, thank you on behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Morristown area.